Okay, hello guys. Welcome to the next broadcast in SEDA College Online Intermediate level. I'm very happy you could take time today to come watch my lesson. I'm broadcasting from beautiful Dublin, Ireland. So please, take a moment. You can say hello in the chat and say where you are tuning in from, and let us know. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Austin, and I'll be the teacher for this course. Um, I think we have a very good lesson planned for today. We're going to talk a lot about verb tenses. And so we're really going to focus on grammar concepts today. That's what I think is most important, is to understand the idea for the grammar. You can always do more practice on your own, because I will try to include some practice into my lesson, but I think what's most important is for me to tell you the idea, and then if you feel you need more practice than what my lesson has, the internet has a lot of free practice on these things. That is why I always try to say the grammar name for these things. That way you know what to research if you ever want to find out more. And as always, please do remember to go back and watch or revise from my previous lessons. If you haven't seen them, I recommend watching them for the first time. Or maybe you have seen them and it was a long time ago. Please feel free to go back and watch, because as always, my ideas will carry from lesson to lesson because we're building one lesson after another. All right. So with my introduction said, let's go. So the lesson today, as I said, we're talking about grammar and verb tenses. So the verb tenses we're going to focus on are three major verb tenses. Our past tense. We're going to focus on the past simple, the past continuous, and the past perfect. So these three tenses can be a little tricky to use correctly, because we use them in kind of a special way in English. These are called the narrative tenses. So narrative, as in a book, a narrative, a story. So these tenses are really used when you tell a story about the past, when you want to talk about what happened yesterday, what you did yesterday, the situation, the events. These are essential to telling a story correctly. So that's how I will focus on teaching them. We're going to look about them in the context of stories. And then in addition, we're going to talk about sport vocabulary, um, because oftentimes, you want to describe what happened in the sports match, who did what. And so you can use these tenses to help talk about that. Okay, so I'm going to start with the past simple. Well, it's the simple, so I'll start with it. We've talked about the past simple before in this lesson, or not in this lesson, sorry, in this series. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but we use the past simple to talk about events that happened in the past that are just totally finished. That's it. And we make it with subject, verb, ed. Those are for the regular verbs. Of course, you know that there are many, many, many irregular verbs in the past tense. We'll do a bit of revision for some irregular forms in a moment. So if we look at this on a timeline, I think timelines are very important for verb tenses. We're just talking about that one point of time in the past. You have all of these events going from the past to the future, and we're just picking one and talking about it. It's finished, it's done, nothing is connected to now. So some examples. I walked to work yesterday. Finished, done. That it is one event that happened yesterday. Or I cooked breakfast today. Closer now to the present, but still happened in early this morning. It's finished this morning. It's done this morning. Okay. Another thing that we need to review to talk about these tenses are the concept of the present perfect. So as I said, we're talking about the past perfect, but I think it's very important to compare the present and the past perfect. So again, we talked about this uh, earlier in the series. So the past, or the present perfect, excuse me, the present perfect is about an event that started in the past, but is still connected to now. And to make it, it's subject plus have, or has, um, and past participle. The past participle is usually for a regular verb, the ed form of the verb. However, there are irregular past participles. So some verbs may have three different forms, a present, a past, and a past participle. Some may only have two, a present and a past ed and a past participle ed. Those are the regular verbs. So we'll look at some irregulars as well in a little bit. So the timeline, if you remember from before, our timeline looks like this for the present perfect. We've got our event, it started in the past, and there's some connection to the future. Some idea continues now. So I have studied Spanish. I studied it in the past, but my knowledge, my ideas, my ability to use Spanish is still today. It still exists today, so I say present perfect. Or Tina has cut her finger. She cut her finger in the past, but I can still see it. I see the blood, so I know there is a cut. It's still, some part of it is still it exists right now, so we use the present perfect. Okay, so that's it for the revision. Those are the two verb tenses you really need to keep in your mind for this lesson. Keep, keep the idea of the past simple and keep the idea of the present perfect clearly in your mind for the rest. All right, so the past perfect. So the past perfect is used to talk about an event that happened before a different past event. So some people, some teachers say that this is the past of the past. If that helps you, that's fine. But I'm going to talk about it a slightly different way. So to make this, the form is very similar to the present perfect, except now we have past form for have. So it's subject plus had plus past participle. No change, because if we remember, it's I had, you had, he had, they had, we had. So no change. And then the past participle again. So the timeline. This is where I think the idea will become more clear. So on a timeline, you are telling a story. So you want to talk about something that happened in the past. This is our present or our past simple idea. So some event that just happened in the past. However, you want to talk about something that happened before that past action. So you're talking about now, excuse me, the past, one action in the past. But something else happened before that is important for your story. So then we use the past perfect. Because now I'm taking the idea from the present perfect and just moving it all to the past. So instead of it connecting to now, it connects to that past event. So, for example, he had eaten dinner before he came to the party. So we have our two verbs here. We have our past perfect, had eaten, and then we have our past simple, came. So here's our past simple. He came to the party, right here. Well, something happened before he ate dinner. So I say in the past perfect, he had eaten dinner before he came to the party. And it's very important to recognize that we do not use this verb tense alone. It is very difficult to do. You can do it, but it's not very natural. We will almost always use this verb tense in relation to other past simple events because we need that point in the past. Okay, so another important part of the past perfect is some pronunciation. You're going to love it. I know you'll love it. It's more contractions. I'll never stop with contractions. I'll never stop. although the contractions here are very simple because had doesn't change forms. So it's just apostrophe D. I'd, you'd, he'd, she'd, it'd, we'd, they'd, and then the negative contraction hadn't. Um, so it's a very simple contraction here. And in the past perfect, we'll almost always use it. So something like this, they'd arrived just before it began to rain. So really, they had arrived, make the contraction they'd. Or Sarah forgot that she'd left her umbrella in the supermarket. She had left, and so she'd left. We make the contraction. So let's quickly try to say these, do a little pronunciation practice. I'll say the contraction, you repeat after me. So I'd, you'd, he'd, she'd, it'd, yeah, that one's a little strange. It'd, we'd, and they'd. So those are the positive contractions. Now let's do the negative. Hadn't. Yeah, you might notice my pronunciation's a little different here. So this combination of sound, D and N, is a little tricky. So we don't say hadn't. We just combine them together. Hadn't. Almost as if the D does not exist. Hadn't. It's just easier. So if you find this difficult, hadn't, just remove the D. Hadn't. There you go. All right. So the past perfect was an event before the past. So now let's talk about the past continuous. The past continuous is to talk about an event that was in progress at a specific point in time. So we think the past perfect was for before. Now we have something that was in progress around that specific point in time. So to make it, it was subject plus was, were, and verb ing. So it looks very, very similar to the present continuous. You know, I say I am teaching right now, something ongoing right now. Well, now I just take that idea, put it into the past. So was, were teaching. I was teaching. And now I have that idea that it was happening at the point in the past. So if I look at the timeline again, we need a specific point in time for the past continuous to be correct because it's talking about an action that was ongoing, in progress, but when? When was it in progress? So I must have a point in time to talk about. And then the past perfect is now describing this action around that past example or past point in time. So an example is, it was raining when I walked home yesterday. So I have my point in time here. I walked home yesterday. And then in progress at that time, it was rain, or there was rain. Sorry, there was rain. So it was raining. It was raining when I walked home. So I'm describing things that are happening in progress in my story at that point in time. Okay. So it still might not be totally clear how to use these. So I'm going to try and make it as clear as possible. What are these tenses as a concept? So the formal name are the narrative tenses. I said that before at the beginning of the lesson, but maybe you didn't quite hear. So they're called the narrative tenses. If you want more practice with these, Google, English narrative tense practice, and you will find lots of free practice online with these verb tenses. And they're called the narrative tenses because they organize time in a story. I'm talking about something that happened in the past, and now I can describe something that happened before and then something that happened around my event in the past. They are not really used alone. It is possible to use these alone as just one sentence, I was walking home or I had eaten dinner. Um, but it's very difficult because they do not have meaning without that point in time. That simple past example, because I don't know when it was before and I don't know when it was in progress. So almost always use these verb tenses in relation or with a connection to a simple past sentence, because the simple past is that anchor in time. So just to make it clear, maybe you're unsure what an anchor is. This is an anchor. It's that big metal thing that boats use to stop moving. So the past goes on for a very long time. And so if I am describing a past event and I'm saying the past perfect or the present continue or the past continuous, I need that anchor so that I know when is it before, what event is it before for the past perfect, or what event is it happening around for the past continuous. So always think about that past simple. That is your anchor in the story, and now you can describe around it with the verb tenses. Okay, so here's a long example, a very natural way of how we would use these. So, yesterday, while I was walking to the store, I saw my friend. We stopped to chat, and she told me she had decided to bake a cake, but she didn't have sugar. So, we can see in this story, the majority of the verbs are simple past. Saw, stopped, told, didn't have, just simple past. But in this story, we have three major events. I saw my friend, she stopped, or sorry, four. She stopped, she told me she didn't have sugar. And so those are our major events in the story, but I want to talk about a few extra things around it. Well, now I can describe that while I was walking, so I was in progress of walking, I saw my friend. So I've got I saw my friend as my anchor, and I was walking around that. And then she had decided to bake a cake. So before I saw her and she saw me, she had decided to bake a cake. Now we've got that action happening before a past action. So that's how they work together to help be those specific, to help describe those specific scenarios in a story. So as I said, we were going to do practice with irregulars. So we did this quiz before, but it's always good to practice these irregular verbs again and again and again and again so that you can begin to just easily remember the different forms. So the past simple will have irregular forms, and the past perfect is often an ed form, but not always, and it might have a different suffix like en. So we're going to look at that. So I'll give you these infinitives. These are 12 infinitive forms, and all of these verbs have irregular forms in either the past simple or the past perfect or both. So, for example, go in the past is went. So I'm going to pause before I show each one. I want you to try to think. What is the past form? What is the past form? So past of be is was. Past of fall, fell. Past of eat, eaten. Oh, sorry, ate. Past of bring, brought. Past of hear, heard. Past of get, got. Past of give, gave. Past of know, knew. Past of forget, forgot. Past of hit, well, it's just hit. This one stays. And then past of do, did. All right. I hope you were able to guess most of these correctly. So let's continue now to the past participle form. So go in the past participle is gone. Be in the past participle is been. Fall in the past participle is fallen. Eat, I said it before. Eaten. Bring, brought again. So this one stays the same. Hear, heard. This one stays the same. Get, gotten. So gotten is an American English. It's your choice. You can say get, got, gotten, or you can say get, got. Um, English in the United Kingdom stays the same. American English still uses gotten, your choice. And then give in the past participle is given. Know is known. Forget, forgotten. Hit, hit again. So no change here, hit, hit, hit. And then do becomes done. All right. As with the past, I hope you could guess many of the participles correctly. Um, my best recommendation for learning these irregular verbs is to do this kind of memory test. Just, test yourself again and again and again on the ones that you forget. You can use flashcards or this kind of, show one at a time activity. It's just a great way to test yourself to begin to remember these irregular verbs. All right. So, practice. We are going to look at these forms. Is the past simple, the past perfect, and the past continuous, and we're going to use them in a story. So I'm going to show you 5 sentences. They are all one complete story, so do not think about them individually. Think about them in connection to the whole story. So, number 1, I'm going to show you the sentence with the word, the verb to use. I want you to choose past simple, past perfect, or past continuous and try to make the correct form of the verb. So here, when I woke up, what do you think? What is the correct form? Well, we do have our point in the past, our anchor, woke up. So we now need was raining. Yeah, when I woke up, it was raining because this is that action that was happening. It was in progress at that specific point. So the specific point of time when I woke up, it was raining. All right. Number 2, I didn't want to travel to the park like my friend and I. All right, this one's 2 sentences, a little tricky. So this is one story. When I woke up, it was raining. And then next, what happened? This is the next sentence in the story. So for decide, is it just one point? Is it something that happened before another point? Was it in progress? And then for plan, the same question. Was it happening before? Is it describing the plan before or in progress? Well, let's see. So it's decided and had planned. So we have simple, past simple, and past perfect. So why? Well, I woke up and it was raining. So then the next action, I decided that I didn't want to travel to the park. So now it's just, we had our point in the time I woke up and it was raining. So next, boom, simple past again. Um, no need for a different tense because it's just the next action in the story. I decided that I didn't want to go or to travel to the park like my friend and I had planned. Now, past perfect. Well, why? Because the planning happened before everything now. It happened before I decided, and it happened before I woke up. So now I must have the past perfect to describe that it was an action that was before everything now. Okay, next sentence. My friend to tell him that we should cancel our plans. So what do we think here? Is it just the next action? Is it something happening before? Something in action, in progress? Well, Simple past. I texted my friend to tell him we should cancel our plans. So, again, just next action in the story. We're always going to represent the next action, the next part of the story, which is the simple past, nothing too complex, just action, 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 simple past, simple past, simple past. It's only when I'm describing in relation to one of them do I need these special verb tenses. Okay, number 4. A few hours later, a very angry call. I wonder what happened. A few hours later, I received. Yeah, a big clue here, a few hours later. Well, now I know I'm just the next action, so received. Final sentence. He, being my friend said he to the park anyway because his phone. Okay, so this is verb charge. Means to for anyone who's maybe not clear, it means to to give power to your phone when you plug it into the wall. It is that is the action to charge. All right, so answers are had gone and was charging. Oh no, we need 2 of the special tenses, the past perfect and the past continuous. So why? Well, really it's because these 2 sentences are very strongly connected. A few hours later, I received a very angry call. And what happened then? Well, my friend said that he had gone to the park anyway. So before I received a call, he had gone to the park because his phone was charging. So during the time when he went to the park, his phone was charging. It was plugged into the wall, so he didn't see my text. But so you can see that it kind of, the story changes from simple past to different tense, simple past, and then maybe a simple past again, and then, oh, we have more of the special verb tenses again, because they always relate back to that specific anchor of the simple past. So always be sure to use these verb tenses in relation to some specific point in the story, which will always be a past simple example. Okay, so as I said, we're moving on to sports vocabulary. So I'm going to do a similar guessing activity to the irregular form. So I'll show you the definitions for 8 vocabulary words for sports. You try to say what is the correct word. So number 1, the boss of the team. This is maybe the leader for the whole group of people. This person does not play. They do not play the game. They are only in charge. And this is they're nouns. Coach. Yeah, this is the coach for the team. This is the boss. Okay. So now let's get a little more specific. This is the lead player. This is someone who actually plays in the sport, but has some authority. This is the team captain. Yeah, this is your team captain or captain. So next, the people who watch the sport. So these are the people who all are inside of the stadium, the arena, and they are watching the sport. These are the spectators. Spectators, yeah, these are the people who watch sport. You can also say audience, but spectators is used more normally for a sport event. Audience is usually kind of a performance, maybe like TVs, cinemas, theater, music recitals, that's kind of an audience, where spectators are much more for sport. Okay. Number 4, the supporters of the team. So spectators is the overall word for everyone there, but not everyone likes both teams. Usually half of the people like one and half of the people like other. So who are the people who like the team? They are the fans. Yeah, so the fans of a team are the people who support it. All right. So next, number 5, the judge of the match. This is the person who says what is okay, what is not okay, and keeps control and make sure everyone follows the rules. Some languages, I believe, use the word judge, but in English we use referee. Yeah. If you're playing baseball, it will be an umpire. An umpire. But for all other sports, it's a referee. Okay, next. This is the ground where football is played. I also believe rugby is played here. Uh, so, football, rugby, American football, these kind of sports. Pitch. It's called a pitch. The big green space is the pitch. And then after, now we're talking about number 7. So this is the road for racers, specifically motor cars and car racing. This is the circuit. Yeah, this word's a little tricky. Don't worry, we will practice pronunciation for all of these words. And then finally, now it's not a car race, but a race for people. And when humans are racing, we race on a track. Yeah, so we've got the racetrack. In addition, I have some sports verbs I want to talk about because the grammar for these verbs are important for how we use them. So I've got these 4 infinitives: to beat, to win, to lose, to draw. We also have the past tense forms: beat, won, lost, drew. So yes, beat is very interesting. It doesn't change. So I will beat them. I beat them now. I beat them yesterday. It doesn't matter. But it does have a past participle. I have beaten them. Then we have win, simple past won, participle won again, lose, lost, lost, and then draw is the only one with 3 complete forms: draw, drew, drawn for your past and your past participle. Okay, so the meaning for these words. So to beat means to perform better, to win the competition. The difference is beat must have an object. One person must beat another person, or one team must beat another team. So, Manchester beat Chelsea. That is an okay sentence. So Manchester beat Chelsea. However, um, with the verb to win, on the other hand, there's no object. So it's just Manchester won, and you're done. Nothing else. So I can say Manchester beat Chelsea, Manchester won. And that's the grammatical way to use these things. So if you want to use verb to describe the 2 people and the order, you use beat because one group beat another. But if you just want to say the winner, you say it alone. Manchester won. The same idea for lost. So in my example, Chelsea lost. Manchester won, Chelsea lost, Manchester beat Chelsea. So lost again is a verb with no object. So we just say the person and lost. And then draw. This means that it is no winner. It was equal score. Nobody won. You can also use the verb tie, to tie or to draw. They're synonyms. And so to use this in a sentence, we say both, like Manchester and Chelsea drew. So no winner, or Manchester and Chelsea have drawn, if you want to use the perfect example. And so we'll use the subject together and then just the noun. This one, again, no object. So you cannot say Manchester drew Chelsea. That doesn't work. Draw here means is no object. So these 3 verbs, win, lose, and draw, are no object. It will always just be Manchester won, Manchester lost, Manchester and Chelsea drew. No object. However, beat requires an object. So Manchester beat Chelsea. All right, so that's the difference for those 3. I just wanted to make that very clear so that you can describe your next sports match as accurately as you can. So I just want to say, as I said, pronunciation for everything. So I'll say the word, you repeat after me. So starting with coach. Coach, coach, captain, captain, spectators, 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 fans, fans, referee, 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 pitch, pitch, circuit, circuit. Yeah, so note here the second syllable, circuit. You totally remove it, ignore it. Circuit, circuit. Much easier as well. So just remove the U, circuit. And then track, track. All right, very good. So that is everything for this lesson. I know we talked a lot about grammar concepts today, so I'll go through and do a quick revision of all of them. So remember, the past simple is a finished event in the past. So this is your anchor. Remember, if you're telling a story, the past simple is your anchor. You make it subject with verb ed and lots of irregulars. And don't forget, I didn't talk about it today because we talked about it twice now, but don't forget your ed pronunciation rules for this. You know, needed, called, walked. Don't forget that. Okay, and then in your past perfect, it's an event that happened before another past event. So we have our past event. Now this is the thing that happened before it. And it's subject plus had plus past participle. And we talked about the had contractions. And then for the past continuous, it's an event that was in progress at a specific point in time. So again, we have our past anchor. That's our specific point in time. And this is an event that was in progress around that specific point in time. And we make it with subject was, were, and verb ing. All right, and then finally, we did some quick review of some sports vocabulary and verbs to help you describe your next sporting match. All right, but that is everything for today's lesson. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in to another broadcast for SEDA College Online. As always, I'm available in the chat for questions. So, at any time in the lesson, please feel free to send a quick message and I'll try to answer if you need any help or need any extra explanation. So I hope you all do very well, have a very good day, and I hope to see you back again for another intermediate lesson. All right, well, thank you all so much. Bye-bye.